Thanks for clicking on this video. You're about to see social media in a way you've never seen it before. Social media has completely transformed how we connect, learn, work, and express ourselves. But underneath the convenience, the entertainment, and the feeling of being plugged in, there is a darker reality shaping our minds, our emotions, our habits, and even our identity. Today, we are diving deep into the hidden psychological, social, and economic impacts of modern social platforms and what they don't want you to know. Social media is engineered from the ground up to keep you scrolling. Every swipe, every notification, every suggested video is powered by systems that learn exactly what you react to and then use that information to keep you online longer. Behind the screen is an algorithm that watches everything: what you stop to look at, what makes you angry, what makes you hesitate, and what makes you click. Over time, it becomes frighteningly accurate at predicting your behavior. And that's where the darker side begins. The more it learns, the less control you realize you truly have. In many cases, it begins to feel like the platform knows what you want before you know it yourself, and that's intentional. These systems are not designed to improve your life. They're designed to maximize your time spent on the platform. And the more predictable your behavior becomes, the easier it is for these systems to nudge you, influence you, and ultimately shape what you think, feel, and desire, and all of this long before you even realize it's happening. One of the biggest effects is what social media does to your attention span. When you scroll through short clips, fast content, and rapid-fire stimulation, your brain adapts. Dopamine spikes become tied to instant rewards, meaning slower activities like reading, studying, or even watching a full movie can feel boring. This isn't accidental. Platforms compete for the same slice of your attention, and they win by training your brain to crave constant novelty. The more your brain adjusts to these bursts of stimulation, the harder it becomes to enjoy silence, patience, or stillness, the very things that help you think clearly and feel grounded. Some psychologists believe this constant overload is reshaping the way younger generations think, making sustained focus feel almost impossible. When boredom disappears from your life, so does creativity, reflection, and the ability to process your own emotions. And this shift has consequences. Tasks that require mental effort start to feel exhausting. You find yourself picking up your phone without thinking. You open apps you didn't intend to open. The habit becomes automatic. Not because you're weak, but because these systems were designed to hijack the most primitive parts of your brain. You aren't just losing focus. You're losing the ability to control what you focus on. But attention is only the beginning. Emotionally, social media affects people even more. Expressing your life online creates a subtle pressure to appear perfect. Even if you don't notice it consciously, your brain is constantly comparing your reality to someone else's highlight reel. A life carefully curated for views, likes, and validation. This leads to a dangerous loop. The more validation you get online, the more you feel you need it. And the less you get, the more insecure or invisible you feel. Over time, your self-worth becomes tied to metrics on a screen. These tiny bursts of validation can condition your brain to rely on external approval instead of internal confidence. And once that happens, your real-life self-esteem starts to fade. The line between being yourself and performing for an audience becomes blurred. You may start acting differently depending on who's watching. You may hesitate to post something unless you know it will perform well. You may feel pressure to keep up, to appear interesting, to show that your life is exciting even if it's not. And slowly, without noticing it, your online identity becomes more real to you than your social media also shapes your beliefs. Platforms reward content that triggers strong emotions like outrage, shock, anger, excitement. Balanced or reasonable viewpoints don't go viral, but extreme ones do. Over time, this pushes people into digital echo chambers where you only see viewpoints similar to your own. This makes the world feel more divided than it really is. You start believing the worst about people you disagree with, not because you're narrow-minded, but because the algorithm hides everything else. When your feed becomes your reality, it becomes harder to tell the difference between truth and manipulation. Entire communities can be misled without ever noticing. Because when propaganda is disguised as humor, entertainment, or just someone's opinion, it becomes almost impossible to recognize. This emotional conditioning doesn't just change what you believe, it changes how you think, pushing you toward extremes you might never have considered in real life. But what might be the darkest part of all is surveillance. Every post, every message, every second spent on an app becomes data. Your habits, fears, desires, all collected, analyzed, and sold. Sometimes that data is used to influence what you buy, how you vote, and what you believe. You're not just a user, you're a product. And the more these platforms learn about you, the easier it becomes for them to predict and even shape your decisions without you realizing. What started as a simple way to stay connected has evolved into the largest psychological profiling system in history. The scariest part? Most people click agree without reading anything at all. People protect their personal information in the real world, yet expose their entire lives online because it feels harmless. But the truth is, your digital identity is often more valuable and more vulnerable than your physical one. With the right data, companies can predict how likely you are to buy something, whether you're feeling lonely, how confident you are, how impulsive, how anxious, even how much you're willing to spend in the next 24 hours. Also, I would really love to see your thoughts in the comment section. Share your point of view, what you think on the topic, and any possible changes you would make to the world of today. I look forward to seeing your suggestions. Now back to the video. And then there's the impact on relationships. Real conversations become shorter. Social interactions start feeling optional. Loneliness rises despite having hundreds of connections. Digital connection begins replacing real connection, and millions of people feel more isolated than ever. Friendships start to feel like content, moments captured for posts instead of memories lived for their own sake. Over time, relationships are valued more for how they appear online than how they feel offline. This new kind of loneliness hits hardest when you realize that you're constantly surrounded by people, yet none of them truly know you in the real world. Many people now spend more time maintaining a digital presence than maintaining real relationships. And that imbalance chips away at emotional intimacy, making it harder to build trust, empathy, and genuine human connection. But it's not all doom and gloom. The key is awareness. When you understand how these systems work, you can break the cycle. You can take control instead of being controlled. Social media isn't inherently evil, but it becomes dangerous when we use it without understanding the cost. Small habits like setting boundaries, limiting notifications, or being intentional with what you consume can make a massive difference in how these platforms influence your mind. You don't need to quit social media. You just need to stop letting it use you. When you start choosing what you watch instead of letting the algorithm decide for you, everything changes. The moment you become mindful of the patterns, you start noticing the subtle ways these platforms affect your mood, your thoughts, and your decisions. And once you reclaim your focus, your confidence, and your sense of self, the entire way you experience the online world changes. You begin using social media as a tool rather than living inside it. You start valuing real relationships again. You rediscover the ability to think deeply, to reflect, to enjoy silence, to create without seeking approval. Social media has incredible power to inspire, to connect, to educate. But it also has the power to influence your emotions, your behavior, and your identity in ways you may not notice. By becoming aware of how these platforms affect you, you can use them intentionally instead of being shaped by them. The moment you start paying attention, you break the spell. And once you wake up to how the system works, you can never truly fall back asleep. Remember, the algorithm is strong, but your awareness is much stronger. Thanks for watching. If you found this eye-opening, stick around, because we're just getting started. A smarter you, one video at a time.